Quadruple A and fake gameplay, a recipe for a Ubisoft game. They did it once, oh, and 100 times more. Ubisoft, greed to the core. We live in a time where game companies could make any game they could possibly imagine a dream come true. Ray tracing used to take so much time just to render one frame, and now with modern GPUs, game consoles can do it in real time. We have terabytes of space to utilize, and controllers that can simulate the weight of pulling a trigger. Why the are the best-selling games coming out from indie studios, and why do we have all of this high tech with no reason to use it? Skull and Bones came out recently, which is a live service pirate adventure game made by Ubisoft, and 10 years ago Ubisoft made what is commonly known as one of the best pirate games ever made, that being Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Well, they should have named this game Assassin's Creed Red Flag because they do what they always do. They removed features, they raised the price to an ungodly amount, and they pissed in our mouths and called it rum. Yardy har har matey, this game fucking sucks. However, I've seen a lot of people say this is such a disappointment, and to that I say disappointment is the wrong word to use. If you knew somebody who sold plastic calling it silver and then did that for the 400th time, that's not a disappointing outcome, that's just a disappointing practice. Ubisoft will never change, and I think the best thing we can do as consumers is to stop giving the company attention, stop giving chances, and support these smaller, passionate creators who are making amazing games. But you know what's crazy is that there's common denominators in all of these cases, red flags that every company does that leads to a doggy nut game. So I've made a list of how to detect a dump truck of a launch and how you can separate a masterpiece from a disappointment. Something I've noticed about incredible games is that they never preach being an incredible game until they break sales records and win awards. Ubisoft advertised Skull and Bones as a quadruple A video game. CD Projekt Red blatantly lied in their cinematic trailers for Cyberpunk. At launch, you could not buy houses or shoot guns out of a moving vehicle.
So what do you want? Supercar? Big house? You want to rule this city?
The same thing happened with No Man's Sky, where a small company shouted to the world how big and infinite the possibilities are for it, and then when it launched, it was unfinished, and while you could explore anywhere you wanted, the procedural generated planets gave you no incentive to actually do it. I think a lot of the time, developers pitch their games as the next step in gaming, and that's just begging for a disastrous launch. The best way to excite your players for launch is, first off, not saying your game is quadruple A or infinite, because then yes, they are going to buy the game, but they're also going to refund it. Rockstar always shows in-game footage for their trailers, and their gameplay trailers just show off the game's mechanics and let the player decide if they're excited or not. And Rockstar always has the biggest video game launches ever. Number 2 on the list is company history. A really good rule of thumb to know in life in general is that people don't change, especially gaming companies. When you see that Ubisoft is making a quadruple A game, you can look back and think, well, didn't they lie in their gameplay trailers, and don't all their massive projects go on sale for cheap after half a year because nobody buys them? Or when EA says no loot boxes, or when a reputable insider says Modern Warfare 2 will have a 2-year life cycle. It just doesn't happen. If it sounds too good to be true, it most definitely is, and that applies in gaming as well. I have foolishly fallen for the dumbest tricks in the book when it comes to marketing. I believed Assassin's Creed Mirage was going to be incredible. I believed the gameplay in the Battlefield 2042 trailer was real. And with all my years of experience now, it's very clear what I can and cannot trust. If some unknown indie company comes out of nowhere and says that their game is going to be genre defining and it's never been done before, for the love of God, do not get your expectations too high. Company history is extremely important when it comes to predicting if a game will be successful or not. Cyberpunk was an unfortunate case where CD Projekt Red showed fake gameplay, raised player expectations to the roof, to the point where no matter how good the game was, it could never meet the expectation of the fan base. And they announced the game so early that players were waiting so long that they got impatient and even sent the developers death threats. So next time you see Ubisoft say they're cooking, it's probably an expression for picking their nose. It's kind of like that one kid in high school that was always talking about the huge IQ he had and how he was an absolute genius. And then you think back and you're like, didn't you stand on a table and tell all the gay kids in history class that they were going to hell? True story, by the way, this actually happened at my high school. Number 3 on the list is trailers. I get the same reaction to a cinematic trailer as I would to a 4chan user wearing a trench coat, and that is to get the fuck out of there. If a developer needs to make a pre-rendered trailer to show off their game, instead of showing actual footage of the game, that's all they need to scream out to the world, I am incompetent! Rockstar has never made a cinematic trailer, and it's interesting because you can go back to the first trailers and go, oh hey, that's not what Michael looked like in the final game, or wow, this looks way worse than it did at launch. I'm positive that the skin in GTA 6 will not look this fake by launch because Rockstar always polishes the game's graphics after its first few trailers, which is insane. Rockstar is one of the only companies I can name that's trailers look worse than the game. That's why GTA 6's trailer is the positive reception it does, is because people know that they're not being lied to. This is straight from the Rage engine. Important thing to note too, if a gameplay trailer has gameplay that seems a little too good to be true, it is. I mean, in Skull and Bones, when I saw that menu had one form of in-game currency and not another one with a significantly lower number next to it, I thought, nuh-uh. This ain't the Ubisoft I know. Damn it, Ubisoft! Number 4, competition. Great games usually come out around the same time other highly anticipated games are on the horizon. If there's a really dry year and a company with a bad reputation or no reputation at all drops a big, ambitious title, it's probably not as good as it would be because there's no real competition. That's why in gaming there's these golden years because companies need to bring their A game to compete. When Red Dead Redemption 2 came out, we had God of War, Spider-Man, Monster Hunter World, and even Ubisoft tried a little bit with Assassin's Creed Odyssey to go the extra mile, which is insane. When GTA 6 comes out, it won't be the only amazing game that year. Every other company will be forced to step up their act, or else they'll be blasted with negative reviews and disappointed fans. And nobody likes being a cuckold, at least most people. But after seeing the terrible, uninspired shit these companies put out, maybe they do enjoy watching their fans play other games while they sit in the closet, pants down, cooking up a new cinematic trailer. And this brings me to the last part of the list, which is something you may hate or you may love, which is reviews. Obviously, the best way to tell if a game is bad is what the reviews say from the community and journalists. People talk a lot of smack for journalists' opinions, but a lot of the time they're spot on. If journalists aren't allowed to use their own gameplay in the reviews, that's a big red flag. If journalists aren't given a review copy, that's another red flag. Before a game comes out, always check to see if there's any reviews or other people who have seen the game around launch. Otherwise, it's almost always bad news. Oh, and downloadable content at launch, that is the reddest flag. All right, so that concludes my list. Like I said, in my time indulging in this hobby, I have been able to separate the uninspired, the good, and the perfection. So next time you're looking forward to a game, come back to this video and go over the list, because I'm telling you, a lot of the time it's pretty obvious what will rise and what will flop. Finally, and most importantly, what do you guys think is one of gaming's biggest red flags? Around a game's launch, what makes you suspicious if it'll go good or bad? Make sure to leave a comment so that somebody can learn something from you. Of course, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to watch this video. And make sure to spend $25 on this video's bonus content. I'm talking 3 additions to the list. I'll be wearing a different outfit, free subscription to my OnlyFans,